So just so you know, this is being live streamed. Anyway, welcome everyone. I'm so excited to have you here. Let me know in the chat which time zone you're calling in from, or like which country you're calling in from, and I'll guess your time zone. All right, so someone's calling in from Nigeria. I feel like it's, I should know this, but I don't. It's sometime in the afternoon or evening. Okay, 7 p.m. Ooh, someone from Germany. That's awesome. I love Germany. Egypt. Wow, that's amazing. Thanks for sharing. Let me just check that the YouTube is working. Okay, perfect. Oh, we have someone from Canada too. Welcome. Awesome. I'm going to share some slides and we can get started. So let me do the screen share. Okay, can everybody see my screen? I think you can. Awesome. So a little bit about entry level. We help you learn and get experience so you can get hired. Hopefully, some of you have taken a course with us already, but if you haven't and you're curious about us, I can tell you all about it. These are some of the courses that we have. So some rules before we start, please be respectful and don't spam the chat. You can ask questions in the chat, but keep your mics muted while people are talking so we can hear the speakers. I also want to know what level you are in so I can yeah, sorry, that's also the YouTube recording and a backup recording. So again, if you have to go because of your time zone, or if you don't want your face or voice publicly shown on our YouTube, like don't worry, we're recording this. But it's gonna be on our public channel. Anyway, I want to know what level of tech you're in. So put 1 in the chat if you're a complete beginner, 2 if you've taken a few courses, 3 if you've landed an internship, and 4 if you're currently working in tech. And this is so we can better customize the question and answers to your needs. Okay, it seems like most people are beginner level, but we have some lucky ones already working in tech. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. Okay, so a little bit about us. We want to reskill 1 billion people by 2030, and by being here, you're helping us with our mission. I actually have a coupon code for you if you stay till the end or if you watch the recording. So make sure to stay tuned for that. I'll also email it out, and it's for one of our entry-level courses. And these are some of the courses we have available. You can check them all out on our website at entrylevel.net. And you basically get a certificate at the end, a portfolio project, because our courses are very hands-on with a lot of assignments, but they're like fun assignments. And you also get feedback and you get to join a community. Awesome. So that's a little bit about us. Tomisin, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm just going to share my screen. Could you please give me access?
Yeah. Um, Let me figure out how to do that. Okay,
Oh,
you should be able to share your screen now.
yes, I can. Yes, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, sorry, just a second. Okay, hi everyone. My name is Thomasin. Thomasin Agbaje, full name. I'm currently a product manager at Sumnes HR, and I have over 5 years of experience managing products across different industries. In my free time, I do write a newsletter, just detailing my thoughts and trends that I see in products, via musings of a PM. So if that interests you, you can sign up or subscribe. Outside of work, I do enjoy reading books. I'm a homebody, so I stay at home a lot, trying out new recipes and taking walks. So just like a few things before we start. So first thing is like I want to preface that everyone has a different journey into tech and into products. So there's no one size fits approach for everyone, right? I would say that we should be respectful of each other's journeys. If you do have a question or any follow-up questions, please use the chat box. And yeah, One thing is, if you have, or if you can't hear me at any point, please let me know. And if I'm talking too fast, please let me know as well. So yes, I would hand it over to Jennifer.
Yeah, thanks so much. Um, so a little bit about this event, how it usually goes. We ask a lot of questions. People sent in their questions ahead of time already, so I'm just going to ask those. But if at any time you have additional questions, please just put them in the chat or raise your hand on Zoom and you can ask them. So I'm going to kick off with the first question. A lot of people were confused about the difference between product and project management. Can you quickly explain the difference between those two?
Yes, I would say that there's similarities, but they're very different. The first thing you need to know is, as a product manager, you have a wider scope into things, and you're working directly with a company to provide value. What does that mean? It means that there's a problem, you're trying to help a company to solve that, either through building a solution in a software team. But project management is typically sometimes embedded within product management in the sense where you are managing a project within a time and there's a cost to that, right? So it's not as in my own experience, it's not as broad as product management, right? So you do have a bit of project management within product management, ensuring that or things are being done at a particular time, we're not going above our budget, things and stuff like that. So I would say that they're different, being that product managers do have a lot more wider scope into the work that they do. So yeah. Jennifer, you're muted.
Oh, thanks so much. Sorry. I was just summarizing what you said. You said that project management is kind of a part of product management where the product manager has to manage a few projects. But that means PM, like product management, is broader than project management. Okay,
Yeah.
so my next question is like, what exactly is product management? Can you give us some examples of your day-to-day tasks?
So I would say that product management basically is you trying to is trying to provide value for customers and for businesses, right? And that looks different for different contexts. So I'll give you an example. Say for entry level has a mission to empower about 1 billion people by 2030, right? Value in this case could be I need to build an app, I need to build a solution, and that's typically what product management will be. It will be what is this problem? How do I solve this problem for a group of people? Also what are my users and working with stakeholders to ensure that this thing is being built, right? So it typically sits across different roles in the sense that you work with customer success, you work with data, you work with sales, you work with implementation, you work with different teams. It's not an isolated role, right? So that's the first answer to the question. So the second answer, which answers the later part, is so there's no like no 2 days looks the same for me in my role and in the company that I work. So I currently work on the lead team in my company, in the company I work, and it's primarily a B2B company, which means that we're working and building solutions for other organizations. Now, what do I mean by this? So my day typically starts with stand up. Basically, it's like 15 what are we working on as a team? Blockers and how can I help you or solve your problem. That's the other way means I do have meetings. I think half of my work they actually go have things such as
I don't know if it's just me, but the internet seems to be cutting out. Is it just me? Maybe let me know in the chat if it's you as well. Okay. Thanks for letting me know. I think her internet went out for a little bit, but to summarize, um her day starts with a 15-minute stand-up. And as a product manager, you can expect to have quite a few meetings. I don't know, does anyone here like meetings? Because I think that's one way to find out if you would like being a product manager or not. is if you like having meetings, since you, as a product manager, you need to communicate with a lot of developers, you need to communicate with um like everyone on the team because you're kind of like at the intersection of like developer, design, business. So you often need to have meetings to talk to these different stakeholders. Um, so I'm curious, like, does anyone here like meetings? I always hear that no one likes meetings, but maybe it's just me who likes meetings. Okay, looks like at least one person agrees with me.
Sorry about that. I think my internet
Okay,
went off, or I just got back.
no
So I don't
worries.
think you guys lost me. So I was saying that for me, right, like no 2 days look the same. For me, in my role, I would say that I do have a generous amount of meetings, a lot of them. So I mentioned one of them being stand up. Depending on where we are at in the company. So for example, my company works, we do agile. And what agile means is that we're developing iteratively through sprints. So if we're at the beginning of a sprint, we have like sprint planning. And basically, this ensures that we know what we want to work on, and everybody knows what we're working on, explaining the user stories and stuff like that. If it's not, then we have other meetings planning ahead of sprint. Um, so other things include bugs. I mean, there's no perfect software. So, I mean, we do have bugs here and there. We have to review what bugs we're having. Are we bringing delight to our customers? We could also be having user research meetings as well. So you just have like different types of meetings. Outside of these meetings, right, I do work documenting, doing product research, ensuring that, our product stays competitive in the market. So I'll give you an example, there's now AI in the market. So how can we use AI to improve like product experience? So yes, no 2 days look the same. So if I had to go through my schedule for Monday now, I would have sprint planning, I have stand up, then I have backlog grooming, and then I have like documentation ahead of the next two sprints, and then stakeholder meetings and stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so you are in a lot of meetings, but do you like meetings? Like, do you need to like meetings in order to be a product manager?
So I would say it depends, right? And this is a very product manager answer. The reason is if I like meetings, but when they are in a particular frame of time. I feel like when it passes an hour, um, my attention span sometimes reduces, and then people start getting they start getting a bit anxious, that they want the meeting to end because everybody's attention span varies. But I wouldn't say I'm a bad, I don't like meetings because one reason is that you get alignment a lot faster when you're talking to people, right? Instead of chatting with them. So you can, reach things faster. But when the meeting goes about an hour, 2 hours, people are no longer listening and you have to repeat yourself multiple times, which is not really fun. So yeah, I would say it depends on the meeting, it depends on the time of the day and how long it is.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I completely agree and have noticed that as well. What's another way to know if product management is right for you?
Jennifer, sorry, could you take that again?
Yeah, so how do you know if product management is for you?
Now, that is a very good question. So for me, like my journey into product management was not straightforward, right? I started my career working in customer success and also working as a product specialist. And my interest in product management basically grew because I wanted to do something outside of that. I felt like I was no longer growing. And one thing about working in customer success is you feel the customer's pain point because you're the first contact, right? And I wanted to be in a more strategic position. So how do you know product management is good for you? First of all, if you're curious, right, because you need to be able to ask questions, you need to be able to understand people, you need to be able to look more than what is obvious, right? Like you need to see more than the ordinary. Um, Another thing would be communication. Are you able to communicate? And when I say communication, you can always grow this skill, right? If it's something that interests you because you talk to people all the time, you're not working in isolation, you have to keep people together. Another thing will be if you like working in a group. And I do know that a lot of people do enjoy working in groups. Um, for example, I just completed my master's, right? And a lot of the assignments were in groups. And what this means is that your success as a or failure as a person is heavily determined by your group, right? So if you don't like groups, that might be a very big problem because you have to like adjust to that. If your team is not productive, then you're not productive. So yeah, I would say that a couple of these things, and most importantly, empathy, right? Because you're working with people, no machines, right? If you can empathize with them, then yeah, then it's for you. But then don't get me wrong, you can always work on all these things, right? So yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like some of the most important skills are communication, teamwork, and empathy when you're looking to become a product manager. What are some other important skills you would say that is a must need for aspiring product managers to learn?
So I would say that first thing aside like talking will be written communication, right? Because a lot of your audience is you don't talk to them, right? They're probably reading something that you've written. So if you're able to write and document things really fast, like that's really good. It's going to be very helpful. If you're a curious person, I've met someone that said that the best product managers are opinionated and they do have an opinion of something. um, so if you like asking questions, I think that's another skill. Other skills will be a lot more, specific depending on the role or the industry that you want to work. Data analysis is something that's really good, right? Being a data-driven product manager, it could be being able to read numbers and making sense of them, right? It could be that you're able to draw dashboards and stuff. But you see that as the industry grows, like there's a need for more specialist skills, right? Do you know how to work on AI and stuff like that? Are you able to like, things like that, just more specific skills. But in general, right, I'll say if you're able to ask questions, if you know a bit about design and engineering, that's really good. But I would not say that those are compulsory. They are things that you can learn on the job.
Okay, so you mentioned design and engineering because you have to work with designers and engineers as a PM, but do PMs need to learn design skills or learn engineering skills? Like, do they need to learn how to code?
So this is a very good question, actually. And this is a long-standing debate in the product community. But if I'm being honest, no, right? You don't need to know how to design, neither do you need to know how to write code. However, if you do know how to do that, it's a very good plus, right? Because you're able to manage your team better, right? And you're able to listen out for fluff and quality as well, right? And it also helps you get value a lot more. Um, and if you don't know how to do it, it's also something that you can develop, right? So for example, if you have to work on something with your team, say engineering, and they're talking some technical stuff, right? You're able to contribute to that conversation, right? If it's design as well, it's not just about, oh, this design looks nice. It's more about, does this design solve a problem for the user? And how can we better, iterate to make it deliver to that customer, right? So I would say it's not compulsory, but if you do have it, then it's good, right? I would advise that everyone should at least, maybe work towards understanding some of these things because in the long run, it makes your life a lot easier as a PM.
Okay, that makes sense. And it sounds like learning some data analysis would be helpful to you. I think that's helpful for any job though. Like I work in marketing and data analysis helps a lot.
Yes, I would agree with you actually. I think recently my goal has been to upskill. So I'm currently learning SQL, right? Because I believe that it just really helps me, right? And it's also becoming a core skill in the market for product managers, right? It just, you're able to justify your decisions, right? That, oh, the data says this. So it's like people like you're able to get buy-in a lot faster. So yeah.
Yeah, and then like how do you learn all of these skills that you mentioned, like communication skills, teamwork, data, maybe design and coding? How do you learn them so that you can practice them and get better?
So I would say it depends on the skill. For soft skills, right? I would say that you get better by doing it, right? So for you to get better at writing, you actually need to start writing, then maybe do some side course and stuff like that to, improve on that. But for things like writing, speaking, um, empathy, you have to practice it, right? And you also need a lot of patience for that. So for hard skills, I would say taking courses like, entry level is a good place to start. So for example, I mentioned I'm learning SQL. I'm currently taking a course online, right, to do that. So you whether it's soft skill or hard skill, I have to mention that you only get better by practicing, right? If you learn this thing and you don't do it, then it's just going to die. So it's like a muscle. You need to keep training it over time. So yeah.
Got it. And then when it comes to practicing soft skills like teamwork, how do you find those teams to work in?
So for skills for team, first thing is that you need to understand that everyone isn't the same, right? The way I would work is not the same way you would work. So coming with that mindset kind of helps you a lot, and you don't jump into assumption, right? I would also say that especially with the working culture now, which is remote, working with people from different countries, there's also cultural differences, right? So the way some things might be perceived in a culture is not the way it will be perceived in another culture. So you need to be very careful about that. If you're able to, build psychological safety, what do I mean by psychological safety? Ensure that people are able to make mistakes, right? And able to pick themselves up from that mistake, right? It kind of helps you, build that skill of teamwork. If you also have empathy, that's really good. If you're able to understand people, just think about it like you're working with your friends, right? I know that this is not like a friendship, but it's within the company, but you work better if you think about them as your friends. So that's what I'll say about that.
Okay, perfect. And I also just want to mention that entry level does have a Discord community. So if you're interested in meeting up with some similar people and teaming up with them on a personal project, feel free to join. I just sent the link in the chat. So I'll also email it to you along with the recording. So my next question is, what are the major things to keep in mind as a product manager? Let's put this in the context of if you're a complete beginner from a different industry, no tech or product management experience. What are some things you need to keep in mind as you're trying to break in?
I would say the first thing will be you need to be open-minded. You need to be very, very open-minded. If you do have any preconceived ideas, I feel like you need to drop that. Reason being that your experience might be different from your assumptions, right? I do know that some people break into product management because they believe it's the easiest path into tech. I don't necessarily agree because like product management is not as easy as people perceive, right? Another thing will be curiosity. Like you need to be able to ask questions and you need to be able to question things that might seem normal, right? And things are not normal. So for example, if you're trying to break into products, I would say that it's not straightforward as other careers like coding, right? Because for coding, you need to certain languages and is more measurable. But for product management, it's more soft skills and product thinking, right? So you're not able to say, oh, I have product thinking, check. It's not like that. So you need to be able to be curious, right? Certain things that you might be doing or certain problems you might have initially might have just been problems, but now it's like, oh, I have this problem. What are there other people that have this same problem? How can I maybe build a solution that could, ease my life and also ease the lives of other people? And to be fair, that's how like a lot of great products were actually built through curiosity. So I would say that if you're curious, you're able to ask questions, be able to, think about, okay, this is normal, but is it really normal? Is this the ideal experience I should have as a person? Right. For example, I mean, the example of Duolingo, because of one person wasn't able to get certain education, he wanted to create education for other people, and that's how he created Duolingo, right? So just being able to, question things that seem normal, right, would honestly be a great fit. And it also helps you with customer obsession, which is something you need as a product manager. So yeah.
Okay, thanks for sharing. And what about certifications and degrees? Like, do you need a university degree or the PMP certification?
Um, no, right. It's nice if you have it, but not really. I mean, I do have a certification for product management, right? But no, you don't necessarily need it. If you do have it, it's good, right? But I would say one thing about product management is textbook is different from practice, right? If you read a book, it might say do this, do this, do this. But then you might then be in that actual situation, you realize that the experience you have is not exactly what the book has said, and you need to be able to, you know, adjust based off the situation that you are in, right? So I would say that, certifications are really good, but I would not say you should fight for a certification. However, if you do want to have it, it's good. It kind of means that you're able to take extra steps, right, to prove your seriousness to getting into product. So, for example, while I was trying to get into product management, I was trying to make myself very relevant. So I was attending all the meetups, going for networking events, and then I decided to take, a product management course and certification, just to show that, I've gone the extra mile to, attain this, right? So yeah.
Okay, so if you were a complete beginner to product management, what are the steps that you would take to break into product management and get your first internship?
So I would say that it's different. If you have a job right now, and if you don't have a job, the steps you would take might be different. So if you don't have a job, right, first of all, be trying to make yourself seen, getting a foot into the door. And the truth is, you don't necessarily need to have your first internship as a product manager to end up being a product manager. You could, look for more adjacent roles, say like a business analyst, data analyst, software engineer, a tester. The thing with this role is once you have a foot in the door, right, you're able to switch, right, because you're able to make people trust you, right, and then you're able to say, oh, I might be a fit for this. And sometimes it might just be, oh, I see that you have the skill, then you might be a fit for this particular role. Um, if you already have a job, right, I would say that one of the easiest ways to switch is within your organization. You say, oh, you express an interest, right? So when you express an interest, people know that, oh, Jennifer has an interest in this. Okay, then if someone is leaving, then Jennifer seems like a great fit. So what do I mean by this? So I mentioned that I was in customer success at first, right? And then I had already said, okay, I wanted to be a product manager. I'd done all the courses, I've done networking, I've spoken to the head of product and said, oh, I am interested in being a product manager, right? And then it was like, oh, thank you. Unfortunately, like there's no opening. I mean, that was really sad. But fortunately for me, the product manager for the company I was working on at the time was relocating to Ireland, and there came a position, and that's how I switched, right? So internal mobility is like the best, and a lot of companies these days they promote that. But if you're unable to, do that within your company, I would say that being audacious, send emails. If you see a company that you like to work for, right? I would advise that sometimes maybe send an email to the CEO or the product manager within that company, like, oh, hi, I'm interested in this. I mean, the worst that could happen is they will say no. I mean, it hurts, but you will find something and you see that people are ready to help. Another thing I would say is if you do have someone that is a product manager, you can ask that you shadow them, right? Because people might think they really want to do product management, but when you shadow people, you see how they work, and it's like, oh, I'm not really sure I really want to do this. And then it's like, oh, okay, if that cements your interest and says, oh, okay, fine, I really want to do this, right? So those are the things I would say. So no one fits approach. If you are in marketing, you can definitely be in products. If you're in customer success, you can definitely be in product. So yeah.
Wow, that's so valuable. So the main thing I got from that was you should get your foot in the door. It doesn't have to be product management internship as long as you try and get in, and then you can express your interest for product after.
Yeah.
Um, and then speaking of like getting your foot in the door and the job search, how do you stand out in the search, especially if your end goal is to be a product manager?
So again, right. I would say it depends on the company, right? If you've done something before this it will be useful to say, oh, you highlight what you've done before. So, for example, one key way that a lot of people break into product is they try to build a startup or they try to build their own product, and that experience becomes very valuable, right? So, if you have like, so my friend would call it a show and tell, right? I can do this, then I'll be valuable for this, right? But not everybody are able to do that. Also, if your friends are maybe building a company or building a product, you can what's called you can volunteer, right? And that experience becomes very valuable, right? Or just having some transferable skills. If you work in marketing, marketing, they really like the marketing team works very closely with product, right? You're able to, it's like, oh, okay, I have key skills. Then also emphasizing that you have transferable skills is really nice, right? You don't need to, have everything just so that, oh, I can do this, I can do that, right? So yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay, and then what if you don't really have any friends in tech and you're not sure how to start your own company? Like, how would you get experience then?
So I would say, for example, what are problems that you currently face right now today? Like, it could be you're trying to get a bus, but the bus doesn't come on time. So, is there a way that you could solve a problem for that? It could be that you're trying to get coffee, but the apps you have today don't work for you. How can you design a solution for that? If you don't, absolutely want to do that, you can volunteer, right? So for example, there's like Shopify, the APM apprenticeship program. There's Google's one as well. A lot of companies have this apprenticeship program. Sometimes they take people without any experience, but it's very competitive. So you need to be able to, stand out from the crowd, right? You as well could, do things like answering questions and building your product sense, product thinking. These are things that you need to know. So maybe you use an app very frequently. Ask yourself, you were the product manager for this app, how would you improve it? Right? If you worked in this company, how would you do this? If you do a lot of writing, you put yourself out there, someone somewhere is looking and would notice you, right? So putting yourself out there is very important as well. Um, Building these skills before you get into the role is also very important. So that would be my advice.
I completely agree because I talked to an entry-level student before. She was trying to break into product management. And while she was learning PM through entry level, every single day she posted one post on LinkedIn about what she was learning. And she got an internship in like 3 months or something like that. It was
Wow.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. My next question is more related to the tools. So let's say you got a volunteer opportunity or you're starting your own project. What are some of the tools that you should be using that a lot of PMs use nowadays that companies look for?
So I think tools vary by companies. The first company I worked at rather, we were a very Google-centric company. We used Google Docs, Google Sheets, we use Meet and then Google Calendar for meeting scheduling, Docs for documentation, Sheets for metrics and stuff like that. The other company that I currently work on is a very Notion based company. We use Notion for everything. So Notion for documentation as well, Notion Calendar for meetings. We used to use Jira for task tracking. You can use Jira, Trello, you can use Asana. But for the company that I currently work, we use Azure DevOps. And basically this is the Microsoft's version of Trello and Jira, right? For metrics, we use Mixpanel, right? We also use Full Story. uh I mean, it might be a lot, but you don't need to know everything. If you know one, it's good that you can transfer the skills for that. We also use Clarity. Clarity is similar to Hotjar, and basically the behavioral tool where you see how people are using your products, right? So those are the key tools that we use on a day-to-day. Other tools would probably be Figma, right? Figma for design, also for prototyping, and then just like process flows and stuff like that, and then Lucid Charts or Visio. So yeah.
Okay, when you mentioned Microsoft Clarity, I was so shocked because no one ever knows about it, but it's so amazing.
Yes,
And it's completely free. So I really recommend if somebody here starts their own project, make sure to take down all these notes because you can practice these tools with your own project. So you mentioned shadowing PMs earlier, so I want to dive more into mentorship. How do you find these PMs to shadow, and how do you find someone in PM to mentor you?
so I mean, the various ways, I think there are various tools. There's ADP list where like you could sign up and find a PM, right? Some it's through LinkedIn. I find that LinkedIn is actually very, very useful. All right. There's like PMs from all over the world, really. All you just need to do is send them a message, right? And different people would accept or not accept based on their schedule and their time, if you're able to do it, right? So if you can do that, that would be great. You could also ask your friends, right? That's one thing that is really good, right? Don't underestimates the power that your friends have. Some of them might be product managers. You can shadow them, right? See how they work. You can also ask them for help. I do know that some people think that mentorship sometimes takes a framework or it looks a certain way, but it looks different ways for different people. So if you ask questions, that person might be your mentor. So they'll be like your go-to person. So like, oh, Jennifer, I have a question. And then I come back the second day, and then I come back the third day, and then Jennifer automatically becomes my mentor. And like we do have that relationship, right? So I would say that reach out to people, ask questions. The worst they will say is no, right? And then you take it from there. So yeah.
That's a really good point. Especially LinkedIn. I've talked to other PM students from entry level, and some of them sent like 5 messages a day just to try and get a mentor or referral. And this person actually got multiple job offers through that because she networked a lot.
Yeah.
Um, so another question from the chat is talking about the future of product management. So does this career have long-term growth and is it in demand?
Yes, I would say that it does, right? But I would say that the demand for product managers is growing and then it's changing as the market grows, right? You would see right now that the market is really, really competitive. Like it's really, really competitive, and you have technologies growing each day. So a lot of product managers are generalists in the sense that you just do everything, right? But there are now companies looking for growth product managers, they're looking for data product managers, they're looking for AI product managers. So if you're able to own in on a skill, an industry, that really helps because some people they work in one payment company and then they lead their entire career becoming payment product managers, right? But the thing is that the skill you have in one role is transferable to any other role, right? So I would say that the PM career does have long-term growth. My manager would say that product managers are better fit to become CEOs, right? Because they do have a wealth of experience and skill because they think about like the business, they think like the customer, they think like design, and they think like engineering. So you're able to see a lot of things from different perspectives. So if you think that at some point you no longer want to become a PM, you can found your company, or you can then, move into another role just because you have like a bird's eye view into how a lot of things work.
That's a really good point. I also heard with AI, it might change a lot of things. So if you were trying to learn PM, but then you also need to learn data analysis and, coding and design, what would you start with so people don't get overwhelmed?
I think that's a really good question because even I was faced with this question just 2 weeks ago, right? Because, personal development is very important, but I think the first thing comes to what is important for you in the stage that you are at, right? And how are you trying to better position, right? I was faced with the decision of I have this PM skills and I want to, rejig my memory about this. And I also want to have a new skill, right? And I've seen that the market is demanding a particular skill. I decided to go learn SQL because market demanded it, right? Look at the market, look at your current skills. What is important for you at this time, right? For web development, it takes a lot of time, right? And effort, right? Also, do you have that time? Like, let's be honest, right? Be honest with yourself. give yourself a timeline. How long is this going to take for you to complete? Also remember that it's not only about learning. You can take the video or you can take the course from now, but aside taking that course, are you practicing or living out these skills? I personally believe that it's more important to live out the skill than just to learn it. So ask yourself these questions and then your answer would, determine what you should learn.
Okay. And then if you are curious about product management and you take a course and you find that it's not for you, but then you also can't really find any other jobs, like what would you do then if you feel stuck and you're not sure which career is best for you?
If you're not sure which career is best for you, that is a good question. So first of all, the first question I'll ask you is where are you at this moment, and why do you think this career is not sure for you, right? I think it's important to, reflect what are the pros and cons, and I'm a big fan, right, that you can always switch careers at any point. Like you're never too late to change careers, right? You don't have to become a product manager and stick to being a product manager. You can decide to become a cybersecurity analyst, right? Ask yourself these questions. Okay, do I really want to do this? Is the market demanding this? Do I enjoy this? What current skills do I have? If you've assessed everything and your decision still says, oh, I'm tired about this, right? Look at the next career and how long it takes for you to transition. But one thing you need to know is that you also be starting from ground zero all over again, and it takes time and it takes patience. So yeah, that's what I'll say about that.
Okay. Another thing I would recommend, and I sent this in the chat as well, is that if you are unsure about the career or unsure about your time commitment, I would recommend looking at some jobs that you're interested in and then matching your skills with the skills that you still need to learn based on the job application, and then just go and learn those skills.
Yeah, another thing would also be the barrier to entry for that particular career, right? So for AI, it might be a lot more stringent, or I'm not sure. I don't work primarily in AI, right? If it's in marketing, it might be a lot more flexible. If it's in products, it might be a lot more flexible. If the barrier to entry is low, then I would say that, you can take that leap, but also you should speak to people within that space as well. That helps a lot.
That makes sense. And then how do you assess the demand of these different roles to figure out what's best for you to break in? So like somebody here, for example, is asking about project versus product management and which one is more in demand.
So I would say that which one is more in demand? That question actually depends, right? And like what you want the future of your career to look like, right? Having a long-term goal and a primary mission for yourself kind of grounds you, right? So for example, if you're saying what does the market demand? What the market demands and what you want might be two different things. Like let's know that, right? You can also do some research as well online, right? To see levels of FYI helps a lot just to know, okay, what is the compensation? How is this career growing? People that are product managers, have they remain product managers or have they switched, right? So again, I would say that personally, I'm sorry if I'm not giving like really straight answers, right? Because like these things actually differ like person by person, right? And what you want for yourself and your career, right? So ask yourself these questions. Also, again, like just do your research, ask people questions in this market. I would say that a lot of people right now, because AI is the trend, everyone is trying to become some AI, you know, career related stuff. So it could be that I'm doing some research on what AI is. I'm trying to build myself like an AI product so that when an AI role comes, I'm able to be, competitive in that regard, right? So I would say the market is good, but also ask yourself if the market is really what you want, right? Because the market always changes.
Yeah, that's a good point. I just remembered you can also ask ChatGPT about your career plans and what you're struggling with, all the questions you have, and ask it to make a step-by-step plan based on research on the market and also based on your preferences. So you should use AI and ask those questions and practice the communication, AI skills, and your curiosity by doing so. Because I heard a lot of people say you should product manage your career and treat
Yeah.
it like a project.
treat
So
it like a baby as well. The same effort you give into other things, you should give that much effort and thought into your career. So I agree with you.
yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of product management starts with really understanding your users, and then the user in that sense is the
Yourself,
recruiters or the people hiring you.
yeah, and you yourself, because you're
Yeah.
also a giver for your career.
Mhm. Yeah, so that's a really good point. You need to network and really understand what the job entails. One way you can do that is, Tomlinson, do you have a LinkedIn? Like, would you be comfortable sharing that in the chat?
Yes, I do have a LinkedIn. I would send that and I'm going to post that as well in chat. Okay, done.
Okay, perfect. So feel free to connect and ask more questions there, or you can ask ChatGPT the questions if you want a more timely response. But I think that's mostly all the questions that I had, unless anyone has any more questions to send in the chat. My last question is just what's something like a piece of advice that you'd give to the people here today? And keep in mind, a lot of people here are beginners or they're trying to transition into PM with no previous experience.
I would say that you should be kind to yourself and you should be patient. Because I believe that a lot of people don't, they're nicer to other people than they are to themselves, right? You would make mistakes and that's fine, right? Also I would say embrace failure. Failing actually, kind of grounds you, right? And it's not like, oh, okay, I failed and that's the end of the world. It's like, okay, I failed. So what next? Right? You also need to be very patient with yourself. Um, and if I'm being very honest, right, it's not as straightforward or easy to break into the market as an entry-level product manager because a lot of people are looking for more experienced people. So be kind to yourself, be patient, you will find something. I mean, it takes a matter of time, but you will find something. So yeah.
Yeah, I have a few interviews with entry-level students who struggled for a long time, but eventually each failure kind of helped them learn and get feedback, so they eventually got a job.
Yeah.
So, we have one more question in the chat. I think this is going to be one of the last questions I take. So, someone's asking if you know how to code.
No, I'm not going to lie. I know that one of the engineers on my team I work with is here. I don't know how to code, but I would say that I actually did dabble into coding in the start of my career. I would say that what has helped is I'm able to understand some technical terms, and when I don't know how to, I'm able to ask questions. And I would say to a very good extent, I can read some part of code. And if I don't know, I would ask the engineers because I mean that's their job and they're greater at it than I think I would ever be within at least the point I'll be learning. So no.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, same here. I don't really know how to code, but I know how to read code and I know how to Google and ask ChatGPT. So I think that's really kind of what you need. Being proactive and seeking out resources if you don't know something, because it goes back to curiosity as a PM. Yeah. So one more question about events. So this is a more of a question for me. So if you want to know more about these events and meetings, I believe it will be emailed to you. So just check your emails for Jennifer from entry level. I usually send out notices of these events. If you join our Discord community, we also post events there and you can DM people and communicate with entry level students. So that's all for today. As promised, I have a coupon code. I'm going to put it in the chat. You can redeem it at entrylevel.net after you enroll in a course. So you can redeem it at the checkout page. And it is for 10% off your next entry level course. So if you wanted to enroll in a product management course or a data analysis course, feel free to do so. Other than that, this is being recorded. Everything is going to be emailed. All the links that we were mentioned, I'm going to email to you. So don't worry about missing anything. And yeah, this was really helpful to me, son. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me. I really had fun. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.